Louise is a 2021 short animated film that was produced by Gobelins. The film shows us an evening in the life of Louise, a 13-year-old ballet dancer at a beautiful French opera house in the 1890s. Like many of the other lower-ranking dancers, Louise is short on money. What the viewer doesn't realize until later on is that she and her fellow dancers are still on the clock following their stage performance, as the theater doubles as a brothel for the wealthy men who come to see the ballet. Here's the thing. This is a real scenario that actually happened to ballet dancers back then. So today, we're going to talk about the ballet world's history of selling its dancers to wealthy men. Painter Jean Béraud was known for painting scenes of dancers entertaining their wealthy clients following performances, and depicted them in a blunt way. In 19th century Western society, no matter what a woman did, whether it was getting married or having a career, she had to provide her body as a form of currency to get access to resources and to move up in social rank. The Paris Opera Ballet was one of the most famous brothels in ballet history. Wealthy patrons of the ballet paid a subscription fee to become a part of the abonnés, a group of men who were allowed to enter the foyer de la danse, an extravagant, exclusive backstage room that served as the opera house's brothel. After performances, the abonnés would go backstage to take their pick of the dancers they wanted to be serviced by. One might wonder how on earth an institution as prestigious as the ballet managed to attract clients in search of carnal services back then. Well, in the Victorian era, women dressed very modestly. For a woman to show even a momentary glimpse of her ankle was considered to be quite suggestive at the time. Therefore, rich men saw the ballet as an opportunity to see girls and women dance for them with little clothing on. Also, a man was viewed as successful in the eyes of other men when he was able to afford to take a ballet dancer for a mistress, financially supporting her and taking her out for lavish meals in public as a display of his affluence. Believe it or not, being a ballerina was considered a dishonorable profession for girls and women to have. And so recruits for ballet companies came from impoverished families who were willing to send their most attractive daughters to make money to send back home. The theaters looked for girls aged 12 and 13 to take as dancers. The new recruits started out at the bottom of the pecking order and were known as the petite rats. The petite rats were often the subject of many of art produced of ballet dancers back then, like the paintings and sculptures of Edgar Degas. Possibly the most famous petite rat in ballet history was Marie van Getem, who posed for Degas for this portrait when she was 14 years old. However, dancing alone was not going to get these girls the financial stability that they sought. Their salary from dancing was very scant, and the secret to achieving ultimate success in their careers was to be willing to submit themselves to the desires of the men around them. First, to the advances of their ballet master during their classes, the theater staff who assigned their roles and renewed their contracts, and then to the wealthy men who watched them perform. In order for these girls to become higher-ranking ballerinas, they needed the money for advanced classes. In order to get the money for the advanced classes, they had to attract the interests of wealthy men, preferably members of the aristocracy, to become their benefactors, paying their living expenses and helping them get contracts in exchange for their bodies. Within a year of joining the ballet, the girls were taught the basics of how to dance on stage for and seduce wealthy patrons. When sharing his thoughts about the lewd and indecent training these girls received, French poet and writer Théophile Gautier noted, "The young ballerina is at once corrupt as an old diplomat and as naive as a good savage. At the age of 13, she could teach a courtesan." Given that the ballet serviced upper-class men, a pretense of morality had to be maintained. Therefore, each girl was allowed a chaperone who walked the girls to and from their appointments with clients. The chaperone was usually the girl's mother, aunt, or an older cousin who negotiated prices for private meetings and even tried to work in an allowance for herself for bringing the girl to the client. The dancers always had to be careful to not offend these powerful people, because they were indispensable and could easily be replaced with another destitute girl looking for a job at any moment. Thousands of girls entered the Paris Opera Ballet and did whatever it took to advance themselves. Very few of these girls ever did rise to become famous dancers, but with so few options in life, what other choice did they really have? Learning about the history that inspired Louise changed a lot of how I see the ballet world. Ballet has a difficult history that's oftentimes not known to many people. The way we see ballet today is so different from the complexity of its past. So many girls today grow up wanting to be a ballerina. To attend the ballet is seen as a sign of wealth and privilege, a type of proof that one has well-rounded culture. We think these things, not knowing that there are some terrible things that happened to ballerinas in the past, and probably to a lesser extent, still today. I am appalled at how normal it was for these girls to be indoctrinated into and exploited by the theater like this. Over the past 3 to 4 years, I've been noticing that the entertainment industry in general has had a habit of hurting the vulnerable and disadvantaged for centuries. And that makes me angry. I hope that talking about this short film can bring attention to the extensive history that has contributed to the cases we're seeing today. In the end, I think that ballet is such a beautiful art form, and I hope that someday there can be a way that art of all forms can be created without people being taken advantage of. This short film was very disturbing for me to watch, but I'm glad that it was made, because this history is very important and people should know about it. So, have you seen Louise? And do you think you would have been willing to be a ballet dancer in the 1800s? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.